And now we're going to pick up the keys.
To be fair, it has happened quite quickly. You know, seems like it's been a long time, but five months, was it? February, March, April, May. February, March, April, May.
It's been 4 months.
4 months. 4 months from not having
Anything
a
together.
mortgage, a job, a deposit, or anything, to moving in.
That is nuts.
Pretty crazy.
4 months.
So we bought our first house in the UK. Well, technically it's a flat. You'll know that if you've seen our previous video, which is our empty house tour. Ready?
Yeah. Not that one. Hopefully it's this one. Okay, here we go.
So in this video, we're going to cover some key questions that you guys had, and we're also going to cover just some useful tips and tricks about buying houses, aren't we?
Yes. So we're going to go through all the details, the costs, how much we're paying. For those of you who've been with us for a while, we're also going to be discussing our house in Sweden. Did we sell it? Where is it? What have we done with it?
And for those who are new to the channel, a bit of context. In COVID, Naomi took a year out studying medicine. I was working remotely. We decided to pack up all of our stuff, drive to Sweden, had no idea what was going on, bought a house for under £10,000, renovated it ourselves, and here we are. So
let's just pause for a moment. Under £10,000
for
a house,
a whole house
with land,
yeah,
in a beautiful place with beautiful people.
So if you haven't seen that, if you haven't seen our journey with that, we'll link it. Go check it out. We knew we were coming back from Sweden because Naomi had to finish her studies. Naomi was being placed in a random hospital, which happened to be near Kent, and we decided to rent a flat in the local area. Now, we were paying £1,200 a month for this quite quaint little flat in the area. It was nice.
It was.
But coming to the end of that, we knew that we were going to be in the UK for at least another 3 years.
I had 1 year to finish my studies, which I have nearly finished. I've done all my finals. I now know I'm going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your support over the years. Quick digress. So now I have 2 more years, F1 and F2.
Those are your foundation years, right?
Yes. So every single doctor in the UK, to get a license here, you need those 2 completed. We definitely want to move after F2, but I just wanted to make sure that I did the 2 core foundation training programs in case for any reason I needed to get back to the UK. I know that I would always have access to a medical license in the UK. So that's why we just decided to move back from Sweden to London.
Yep.
4 years in the UK, and that's what happened.
So it's 2021. We've come back. We're paying £1,200 a month in rent. Rent in London was going crazy at the time. The next year, it was actually going to be £1,400 a month to rent this flat.
Let's add some context. I'm a student, so therefore I get very limited funds from an NHS bursary. Mm-hmm. So Jack was basically looking after me and him. Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell me your salary at the start of the time?
Yeah, so at this time, I was earning £35,000 a year as a data analyst, somewhere around £2,100 a month after all the student loans and a bit of taxes, etc. It's a reasonable salary. However, for the cost of living in London, it's not a lot. And
for 2 people.
And supporting 2 people in London, it's really not a lot.
The rent was £1,200, the council tax was £125, electricity and gas was £73. We had a car and we had to insure it and tax it. That came to £103 per month. We then had water, which was £50 per month, internet, which was £25 per month, and then we allocated ourselves £100 for food each week, and we were just on a really strict budget. Of course, we went out, and I should also say I have always had a couple of jobs throughout my studies. We never added it to the budget just because it was very infrequent, and it was almost a benefit if we got any money from my jobs, but I've always worked throughout.
At the end of the month, we didn't have very much money, disposable income to do anything with.
No, we have negative disposable income. Yes.
So I'm sure you're wondering, how the hell does this mean you can get a house?
So back in 2021, 2022, interest rates were super low in the UK, as they were in many places, which meant that the typical mortgage rates were somewhere around 1.5 to 2%, maybe a bit higher if you had a lower deposit. So really, really favourable mortgage conditions. A mortgage on a similar flat to what we were paying in rent would be around half the cost monthly.
And mainly for us, in that moment in time, we would have more disposable income
Each month.
Yeah. And that meant more to us than
Yeah.
anything else.
Not to digress too much, but this is one of the reasons we ended up going to Sweden, is because we worked out how much money we would be paying on rent, and it's kind of like, well, if the worst thing were to happen, like for example, if all the money that we paid in the mortgage just disappeared, then it would be no different to renting, right? And the same with Sweden, like we bought the house in Sweden for less than we would have paid in rent.
So even if
the house
crumbled,
fell apart, then we were in the same position.
So let's talk about our criteria. It had to be near London or in London.
Yes.
Because that's where Jack has to work.
We got a spreadsheet and we looked at all the areas where houses were affordable within our budget, and then we looked at how much it cost to commute into London from these places.
And the time it took to
And
commute.
the time, yeah. It needs to be a reasonable time. We wanted under 45 minutes, well, under an hour to 45 minutes, and realistically didn't want it to be much more than £3,000 a year for commuting. Found some really nice flats in places like Dartford and Gravesend, but these were actually quite long into London, and also quite expensive on the commute. I think it's around 5,000. We found some beautiful flats in Gillingham and Chatham with like water views and all this kind of stuff, but they're about £6,000 a year to get to London. So suddenly that's eating into all this money that you were saving on your rent. And the second, clearly it had to be within budget. So I got another job with about a 25% pay increase, more or less. So that gave us some breathing room, and also gave us more mortgage
lending power.
Leverage power. Yes, exactly. Because you probably know that your mortgageable amount is based upon your monthly income.
Yes, and in the UK, it's about 4.5 times your salary is what you can afford.
Yeah.
So when Jack's salary was 35,
yeah, it's about 150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not happening anywhere near London.
Yeah.
So when it increased a bit, then it started looking a bit more reasonable, and our budget was about 200.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, we would have also wanted a second bedroom, a garden, and parking space. We got 1 out of 3. We were not picky.
Yeah, we did get one. So in the UK, we're very fortunate actually that the government has a number of schemes to help people buy their first houses. A common one, which a number of people we know have used, is the Help to Buy scheme, where the government will actually loan first-time buyers a portion of the house price, which basically means if your mortgageable amount is like me, say 200, then actually you can buy a house that's much more expensive because the government gives you an interest-free loan for 5 years on the bigger section of it. If we did that on a Help to Buy in London, that would give us a total purchase price of around 330 to 350 maybe. So suddenly you've got a much broader possible number of houses.
Yes. But also to say that it had to be a new build.
Yes.
Which are always marked up anyway.
Yes.
But that didn't matter for us anyway, because we weren't eligible.
Yes, so interestingly, when we left for Sweden, the Help to Buy criteria were that the person buying the house couldn't own property in another country. Now, Naomi bought the house in Sweden, technically.
We did that strategically
to
this
to leave this option open, right? Because at the time, even though we were married, I would still have been eligible to buy a house in the UK as a first-time buyer. But they changed up the Help to Buy scheme in that 2021 period, just before we were looking to buy a house. Actually, I was no longer eligible because
he was married to me.
I was married to Naomi. There are always hidden costs to doing anything. So a £10,000 house in Sweden sounds great, but it also stops you from getting 140 grand potential of free interest-free loans. So everything's a toss-up, isn't it?
Nothing is ever free. You'd have to pay that back too. What you've all been waiting for, our flat.
I just wanted to see, have you spoken to anyone else in similar at all today?
I've been on many emails all day. Yeah, I've literally just as you called, she has asked me for final authority to exchange and complete, so I'm about to send my written confirmation of that. Great, thanks, Raj.
Take care, mate. I'll call you when I know it's done.
All right, cheers, thanks, bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Bye.
Authority given. I give my authority to exchange and complete today. Go, go, go.
Let's start off with, was it in budget? Yes. It was priced at £190,000.
Yep.
We offered £191,000.
Yeah, the market for houses was actually crazy. So we were inquiring for houses to arrange viewings, and they were already sold within like a week.
Well, she had essentially came down to 2 offers. She had 3 initially. She narrowed it down to 2. It was yourself and a young lady actually that were pretty much neck and neck. But suffice to say, you just pipped it.
Excellent.
Especially with the flexibility factor.
We paid a 5% deposit, which worked out to be about £11,000.
Yeah, we paid. I paid a bit extra, a bit more than 5%. The mortgage options available to me at the time were fairly limited because I hadn't actually started my new job yet. All of my mortgage offers were based on a signed contract I had that I was going to be starting a new job, and there was a certain number of lenders that would accept that as proof. But it did limit my options, and I ended up going with Barclays. But yes, Barclays wanted me to have £11,000. Well, basically because my affordability was 180, more or less.
Another thing that really helped us with the deposit is we used the LISA. So for any of you who don't know, what happens is you have a yearly allowance of £4,000 that you can put into this LISA.
Yep.
The government then gives you an extra 25%, which is £1,000 each taxable year, and that can only be used to purchase your first house or for retirement.
Yeah, it's like a savings account.
Yeah, it's a savings account, but it has hefty penalty fees because if you take out your money for any other reason other than those mentioned, then you lose 25% of all the money you've ever put in.
Yeah.
So when we were sure that we were getting our flat, it was quite serendipitous really, because we were able to put in £4,000 pre the end of the tax year, so before April 6th, and got that extra £1,000, and then we were able to do that again after April 6th and get an extra £1,000. So when we had £8,000 for our deposit, it actually then turned into £10,000 for our deposit.
Yeah.
One side note is before you can ever get that £1,000, you have to have already had a LISA for at least a year. We had opened up one years ago. We took the cash out, paid the penalty fee, been there, done that.
Bought a house in Sweden. Yeah.
So just in case you're thinking about that, please open it up now, put £1 in, and then when you're ready, add
Just get the
cash
option.
in.
Just get the option there. Yeah. So in terms of extra costs associated with purchasing a house, one is stamp duty, which is a taxation on the purchase and sale of houses. We didn't have to pay that as a first-time buyer, and other fees like legal fees, survey fees, land registry fees, all of that stuff came to is under £2,500.
Yeah. So in all, including maybe like miscellaneous things like renting a van, it all cost us 15 grand from deposit to move.
Interesting way to phrase it, but yes. Okay. The mortgage we're paying now is £658 a month, so that's almost half of what we're paying in rent. Not quite, but almost half. We then do also have to pay a ground rent charge, which is around £1,600 a year. So it's a bit over £100 a month. So that eats into that saving a little bit. But still, we're about £500 a month, if not more, better off over renting.
Anyway, we have a leasehold, and at the time of purchasing, we were able to get a lease that was put back to 125 years, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we negotiated a lease renewal as part of the sale.
Yeah, I mean, because the lease renewal is going to run parallel to the sale, you know, it's not going to be a quick thing anyway. It's going to take the full amount of time that a sale normally takes. So
yeah,
you're probably not going to be talking about keys until, I would say, end of April, to be honest with you.
Oh, sorry.
Well, one, we actually haven't said where the house is.
I know, I was just going to say that. So it was in budget. It had 1 bedroom. We did want 2, but we're hoping that if I can get my way, we can renovate it to make 2 bedrooms somehow. It had a lovely, cute courtyard garden, and the location is fantastic, and is the reason we bought the house, in my opinion.
The location is great in the sense that there is a 15-minute train to London. The specific area is up and coming.
She up and coming.
Yeah.
She up and coming, honey.
Yeah.
So we live in Slough.
Yes.
And it's an adjustment. There are some really lovely areas in Slough. So we live about a 45-minute walk from Windsor Castle. It's 15 minutes to get in. I live 5 minutes from a really beautiful park and a pond. It's really serene, actually.
Yeah.
Other good things about Slough is the introduction of the Elizabeth line.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It's very well connected.
It's very well connected. So, you know, getting to Bond Street, Central London, Paddington, it's all quite easy.
It's also 1 hour drive to Swindon.
1 hour drive.
It's also on the right side of the country for me to go visit my family.
Another thing about Slough is it's undergoing a massive regeneration program. So it is going to take about 13 years to redevelop the high street. But listen, if Abu Dhabi can invest in Slough, who am I to say I should not invest in Slough? Slough will be great again. I believe it.
Great again.
Apparently it was really nice before. Another thing about Slough is outside of London, it has the highest commercial offices and headquarters. So for us, it means it's actually quite well in terms of renting it out if we decide that's what we want to do when we leave. In fact, we are in Jamaica right now. If you don't know why we're in Jamaica, check out our Lithuania video, the treehouse video. There's a bit of a life update there. And whilst we are here, we actually were able to rent out our flat on Airbnb for a month. And these things all help when looking for a house. So yes, it's not on the nicest street, yes, it's not in the nicest location, yes, it's not our dream home, but you know what, it does everything that we need it to. So I'm very blessed and very excited that you get to be a part of this journey as we renovate. Get your design hats on, girls. I think now, in case anyone is looking to buy a house, we can kind of talk about how we are future-proofing and how we feel about the rise in interest rates and what our plan is. We got this house, as I said, on Jack's previous salary. He's moved jobs a lot, so this isn't even the job he has now. He's changed it.
Yeah.
And it was all just based on... That means that, well, because I was a student, I couldn't really add anything to the list. I was just a liability at the time. But now that I've got all my results in, I know for sure that I'm going to be a doctor, and all going well, I can start my job in August. So if our interest rates had to go up, we then have a second salary that can help with the interest rates. We're also trying to renovate our house. We can talk to you all about that, but like ideally I'd like to find a way to create a second bedroom which we'll either rent out to a lodger or at the end of it, we don't know. There's lots of plans, lots of ideas, but the main thing we had in mind is we got a mortgage that was within budget, and now that I'm going to have a job, it's definitely going to be within budget and hopefully can withstand the interest rates. That was our thought process at the time.
Yep. And fingers crossed, by the time we get to the end of our fixed term, interest rates will have settled down a little bit, fingers crossed. And at that point, we'll have to weigh up what we're going to do with the flat anyway, renting, etc.
So last but not least, what's happened with the Swedish house?
In a sentence, we're renting it out. We met a lovely person who actually came to the house for a short stay on Airbnb, and they loved it so much, basically, that they didn't want to leave. So, yeah, thank you to our now friend who rents our house. She looks after it, she loves it, and we get regular updates on how her and the house are doing.
In terms of moving back to Sweden, if we're really honest, we don't know what our plan is, but for now, we're not moving to Sweden.
Yeah.
And I feel like our life is just trying to make the best of whatever situation we're in. You've seen us living at my parents' home, you've seen us living in Sweden, you've seen us living in Petswood. Main thing that we try to do is live within our means, and we make calculated decisions so that we can have a comfortable life. Sweden was a financial decision, which just ended up being an incredible experience. And this house is a financial decision. It's not our forever home. It's not in the nicest of locations. It's not the best house. There's lots of work. But at the end of the day, we have a roof over our heads. Our costs of living are lower than they were had we been renting. And we're pretty happy. And that's basically what is happening. So I know a lot of you guys came here for the Swedish videos. I'm so sorry. But there's still going to be renovations. There's still going to be traveling vlogs. And maybe you'll help us figure out this thing called life with us.
Now we're going to turn it over to you guys. We asked on Instagram and on YouTube some questions you had. Let's take a look.
How many viewings did you have before making the decision, and why that area?
Okay, so area we discussed mostly, didn't we? But number of viewings, I want to say...
5 or 6?
I was going to say 7 or 8. You didn't come to all of them.
Oh yes, that's true.
Yeah, I think probably about 8. We viewed a number of houses in a number of different areas before deciding on this one. We really fell in love with this one. But yeah, we'll talk you through in another video more about some other houses that we saw, what we liked and didn't like. I'd be interested actually to know like what's the average number of houses that someone views before they buy one. Let us know if you recently bought a house. How many did you view?
Oh, someone asked about Lola.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see Miss Kitty. How is she doing?
Oh, she's good. So whilst we're in Jamaica, my dad's looking after her. But yeah, she's been doing great, hasn't she? She's very adaptable.
She's now living with a dog, and apparently they're like best buds, and I don't even get to see it.
Yeah. So when I go back from Jamaica, I'll pick her up. She'll be back with us in Slough.
Well, I'll be in America.
Oh.
Again, watch the Lithuania video to find out why. Okay, how much did you pay? Hope that's not asking too much. Of course not. I would be so nosy. £191,000. What made you buy a flat? We've kind of discussed that in detail.
We couldn't afford a house. Well, it's true. I'd have loved a house. I'd love the whole building. Yeah. Anyway.
Mrs. Pratt asked, did you use a mortgage broker?
Yes, actually. In fact, I spoke to multiple mortgage brokers. I spoke to 3, in fact. The first one was L&C, and if you Google basically anything about mortgages or first-time buyers in the UK, L&C, London and Country, will come up all over the place. Some of my friends had used them. I thought I'd give them a go. I think basically they're good for like very straightforward cases. So yeah, if you just work, have a salary, and get a regular salary and a job you've been in for a while, and you're buying Help to Buy a house, they're great. But as soon as it gets a bit more complicated, like you haven't got your job yet,
you don't even have a job,
and you're like putting these things together, and it's like, oh yeah, your wife owns a house in Sweden. They don't know. Yeah. They don't know. So they ended up messing me about a bit. I submitted an application. It turns out I wasn't even ever eligible for. So L&C, beware. Then I spoke to 2 others. One was an independent mortgage advisor who was recommended to me by a friend who, on the other hand, completely got the situation, was very knowledgeable, really liked it. But at the same time, I also was speaking to Habito, which is a new trendy mortgage broker starting up in the UK. They were very switched on, they were very motivated, and the guy kept calling me. And they really went out their way to like find good deals. And basically, the independent mortgage advisor wanted me to wait until I had my first salary, I think, to confirm the mortgage or something. He was like, you can do half an application now and we'll finish it off later. And he seemed very knowledgeable, but the guys at Habito, he clearly wanted his commission or something. He was just on it. He was like, no, we'll find it, we'll get a solution now. And they do this fast promise thing. Anyway, it went from me submitting my application to having a mortgage offer in, I think, like under 5 days.
What is it?
Your mortgage offer. We're pleased to enclose your mortgage offer, blah, 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 blah. Property address.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Who's buying a house? You buying a house. Who's buying a house? You buying a house. You buying a house. You buying a house.
And this is with no job. so I don't know. They work their magic. So yes, I would definitely recommend Habito.
How long did it take you to renovate? And oh honey, we still renovating. We still going.
The short answer is
no.
It takes 3 or 4 times as long to renovate any single aspect as you think it will.
Yes. So I don't think we've answered this, but we got the flat and the keys in May.
May 2022.
Just before my 4th year finals. Crazy. So I wasn't really involved in that process, hence there's not many videos. And for the last 6 months, I've been working towards my finals, but any spare time Jack has had, he's been doing renovations. And we're getting there. We've got a nice little cute living room situ going on, but we're definitely not anywhere near finished. So you guys are gonna First, we're going to get you up to date, and then you're going to help us with the new decisions.
Okay, so from YouTube, congratulations you two, more blessings in 2023. Amen. How long do you see yourself staying in your new home? Is part 1. So, as short as possible.
It's like, I came to Slough, I'm ready to leave.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Probably the minute I finish my foundation training, so 2024, we're probably going to be thinking about relocating outside of the UK.
Yes. Well, we'll be thinking about it before then. Hopefully we'll be doing it then. Question 2, Naomi, are you studying full-time? Please do a video about your studies.
Oh. I have been studying full-time for the last 2 years, and
Coming to the end.
Coming to the end.
Yep.
Coming to the end.
Currently in Jamaica.
Currently in Jamaica, going to America next. Find out in the Lithuania video.
Enjoyed the house tour, excited to see what you've done with it. Do you still have your cat?
Yes!
Oh, everyone wants to know about Lola.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to just put a bit of Lola in here just for the love of Lola, because she's so good.
Have you sold your house in Sweden, cuties?
No.
Thanks, but no. Yeah, McDonald wants us to explain more. What happened to your house in Sweden? A lot of people want to know about Sweden. Hope we addressed most of the questions that you guys might have had, if you were past, present, or future subscribers. If there's something else you want to know, leave it in the comments. We'll do our best. But yeah, we'd love to hear about your house journeys, how many houses you're viewing, all this kind of stuff. What are your opinions on the mortgage rates, etc. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to see our renovations as they unfold and all of the challenges, of which there are many that we face along the way. Our first night in our new house.
And it's so nice. And there's so much space. We did it.
We did it.
Got our own very little cute place. And it's really nice.
Yeah, and it's just perfect. Now in bed, and the bedroom is beginning to come together, and Beanie's just lying here with us. It's really cute.
It's so nice. He's been so good. He's honestly been like working so much, and I'm just ever so grateful to have you in my life. Thank you for really stepping up and just getting everything done. I can't quite believe it. You smashed this.